Hey Bob and Ann, and anybody else who might be wanting a low-fat, high-protein breakfast alternative. So first a word about the ingredients. Basically we're going to be using egg beaters for the omelet. We're going to be using Jimmy Dean fully cooked turkey sausage. This is low-fat. And actually I can't tell the difference between this and full-fat pork sausage. As far as the flavor goes, it's really good. Also, it's important to have some kind of sauce because eggs tend to get rubbery in the microwave, and this really helps the finished product if you have some kind of sauce. I've got Chipotle Ranch here, which I really like if you like something spicy. If not, regular ranch works pretty well. And I've also got a couple of little, single serving dishes that I use to cook these and then store them. So the basic procedure is you get them ready, and then in the morning, just pop them in the microwave for a minute if they've been in the refrigerator all night, or if I make them in the morning, I pop them in for an extra 30 seconds. So let's get started. I'll show you how we do this here. First I'm going to pour between 1 and 2 eggs worth of egg beaters into each little cup. And I used to measure this with a measuring cup, but I've done it so often now that I don't have to measure it anymore. So that's right around 2 eggs worth, about 1/4 cup per egg. So I'm going to go ahead and put this into the microwave for a minute each. While that's nuking, I'm just going to cut up some little tomatoes here. You can also substitute vegetables that you have left over from the night before. I put all kinds of different things in here, depending on what's available. I like to cut these pieces up pretty small because it helps them to mix in, because we do have a fairly small cup and a small portion here. So we're going to quarter these babies and then slice them pretty small. As soon as I hear the microwave get done for the first minute there, I'll go over there and put the other one in. Probably the most calories as far as fat goes is in the ranch dressing, the Chipotle ranch dressing we're going to be using. So if you wanted to use a low-fat sauce of some kind, then you would have even a lower-fat breakfast. Here's kind of how the egg looks when it gets done in the microwave. I've actually, you see how it kind of bloats up and gets a little rubbery on top, and then on the bottom, it's still not totally done. It's still a little bit soft and slightly runny. So I'm going to go ahead and mash this up, and this is really hot. I can barely actually keep my fingers on it. Just mashing this up with my special bent fork that I bent for the size of this dish. Just an old fork that we had from a long time ago, some ancient set that was left over, so I bent the handle to make this easy to do. You could maybe use some kind of potato masher if you have a big enough dish, but the fork seems to work better because the tines are pretty close together. Anyway, I was doing oatmeal every day because it's supposed to be good for cholesterol. Found myself getting hungry by 10, and my numbers were really bad. When I started doing this breakfast, my cholesterol went way down, which is kind of interesting. Get a second dish here. I'll go ahead and, for some reason, turning it upside down seems to make it mash easier rather than trying to mash through the slightly rubbery, part that was on top. So I flip it over and kind of mash it up. With this small of a dish, unfortunately, ends up being a little messy sometimes. I did wipe the counter off and clean it up pretty good before we got started, because this always happens. Okay, now for a little sauce. It's actually still cooking, I think, right now, because I can just feel the heat emanating off of that. And as soon as I put the sauce in, it's going to stop cooking. It'll cool it right down because this came out of the refrigerator. Give it about, I don't know, about a tablespoon. Stir it up there. So when I heat the eggs up in the morning, this will keep them from sticking together and getting rubbery. Plus it adds a good bit of flavor. So now we're going to go ahead and put our tomatoes in here. I can't use too big of portions or else it'll overflow the little dish. Now I'm just going to mix in some cheese. Actually, I'll put the turkey sausage in first. One second thought. And cover the top there, get a nice sized portion. A little bit more on that one. I'm going to get I don't know, maybe a tablespoon or so of the cheese. Now, because the dish is so small that I'm using, I can't really stir it very well, so what I'm going to do instead is just kind of punch it down in. It will come out and get a little bit on the cutting board. I'll just scoop that back up and put it back in. I'm kind of punching straight down. If I had a much bigger container, then I wouldn't have to. I could actually stir it a lot more efficiently, but punching it down in gets it mixed up pretty good. And there's something about having a full dish, even though it's a small portion, seems to psychologically be a little more satisfying. So I'm just going to kind of punch that down in with a slight sideways motion to help stir it in and mix it in. Put the scraps that fell off back on top. And that's it. Now I'm ready to pop these into the refrigerator. Since I'm making it the night before, I'll pull these out in the morning, put one in the microwave for 1 minute, and it's ready to go. Very tasty. If I made this in the morning and I was going to pop it in, I would put it in for about 30 seconds, just enough to get it heated up from being in the refrigerator. There you go. High protein, very low fat, extremely tasty, very easy, very fast, and really quite satisfying.